Hello friends, collecty connecty of galactic star babes, welcome back. This video is going to be a numerology energy update for 2022. We're going to talk about all the sixes in the deck, right? 222, 6, and talk about what that means for you, what that can mean for your year. We're going to cover, swords, wands, cups, pentacles, major arcana. So we'll cover all the emotions, all the thoughts, all the dreams, all the materials. Yes. If you're looking for just the energy read for the upcoming year for 2022, or the year we're in, depending on when you read this, watch this. Humaning is hard. That you can go to my channel and find it there. While you're there, subscribe. You'll be updated on new moons, full moons, zodiac transits, energy updates for those, any major transits that happen that could affect you energetically, and obviously yearly transits, Gregorian calendar. So here we are. Let's get into it. It's year number 6, right? What does that mean? So talked about it a little bit in the energy reading video, but 6 is unconditional love. It's balance, harmony, home and family, solution finding, communication. It's gift giving, receiving. It's the balance between material goals and your spiritual inner self. It's time to take responsibility for yourself and be honest about where you're at. Be honest and fair in any situations you have where you're doing deals or you're coming to a conclusion or commonality. Make sure that you're being honest and fair in that. Trust that everything will be provided to you as you take care of yourself and you help take care of others, right? Trusting that the universe will provide is very important. It's a hard mindset shift to make because the majority of us are conditioned to stress about things, what we don't have, what we think we need. If things aren't exactly how we envision them, we tend to freak out because things aren't going the way I planned. Slow and steady. Are you focused too much on outward things to the detriment of your internal spiritual life, right? There's paradox, duality, and everything. So this is a good number. It's a number of balance and love and positivity and gifts, but it's also telling you to take a look at everything and make sure that you are finding that balance and you are focusing on your emotions, your internal world, what needs to transition, to change, to be washed away, what you need to bring in more of, right? There's a lot of that. Gratitude is super important, right? Be grateful for what you do have. An attitude of gratitude will encourage further abundance to come into your life. You put out a frequency, you get more of that back, right? Physics. Woohoo! Energy is super important, and it's super important to make sure you know where your thoughts are at, where your mind's at, where your heart is at, how you're feeling about certain things, right? Your mindset and emotions towards a thing, a subject, a situation can determine how it will affect you. So remember that. I also want to talk about 222 because 222 is present in 2022. 0 is the placeholder. It's infinite possibilities. It's beginnings. It's that cosmic egg, right? So it's important, but we're going to focus on the 2s right now. 222 itself encourages you to take balanced, peaceful stance everywhere in your life and keep faith and stand strong in your truths. So hold faith that things are working out for you. It's balance, manifesting miracles and new opportunities coming into your life. It's a blend of 2 and 22. 22 is a master number. It resonates with ancient wisdom, having visions and transformation into those visions, right? Set a goal, achieve that goal. That's those things. 2 is an influence of faith, trust, encouragement, success. Again, balance, adaptability, harmony, divine life purpose, soul mission. So you see how important this year is, right? You see how important these things are. I won't get too much into it, but last year was about transformation. It was it was about conflict with ourselves, with others, emotionally. It was facing those emotions, allowing them to come through and not fearing the change, right? That doesn't end now, it's carrying in. So all of this is integrating that in, right? So we're just going to dive right in. This is a little different. The cards are already pulled for us. So we're just going to talk about what they mean. I want to give you as much in depth as possible. So I have some notes and I'll read from those. so you get a full feel, right? This is a great time. It's energy reading, but I also like to do energy readings in a way that you can learn to do this yourself if you want. You can learn what the numbers mean, what the cards mean, how it works. You know, you have the keys and the tools inside of you. Collectively, we come together to help each other unlock those. So remember that. The Lover's card, we're going to get right into it. The deck I'm using, I really like it because it's super modern, very diverse, but the artwork is the closest that I have in my decks to the traditional tarot, the Rider-Waite tarot. There's many different versions of it, but I think this one really brings in all the meanings, and I like to show you what I'm looking at, but I really like the artwork and the colors in this deck. If you're interested in what it is, just check down below. There's a link where you can get it. Support small artists. It's my shameless plug. So this is a card ultimately about choice. Choice between darkness and light. And those aren't good and bad. It's just ways for us to understand energy with our human minds, right? You may have heard people talk about the tarot or energy in general as feminine and masculine, aligned with the darkness and the light, and it's not a good or bad, evil or good. Like, it's just is. It's a way for us to distinguish this balance. So traditionally, it talks about adolescence. Adolescence is a time when sexuality and intellect and moral independence come out. You start to become your own person, right? You start to be able to make decisions for yourself based on the life that you're living. You're not so much under the influence of parents or paternal figures or parental figures or people who have raised you, right? We get influenced, and it's not good nor bad. It just is. We get influenced by the way we're brought up. And so that really weighs into how we start to live our life. But there comes a point where we can start to make our own decisions and see what works, what doesn't, what makes us come alive, you know, where we feel connection. The cards before this, 3, 4, and 5, which is the Empress, the Emperor, and the Hierophant, respectively, they show shaping by nature and society and parents, also respectively, while 6 is the individual emerging. It's a personality all by yourself. You know, you're coming into your own purposes, you're coming into your own ideas. You can make independent decisions based on your own desire, right? So, boom, great energy. Take that into 2022. Your dreams, your goals, your ambitions are valid, and you should reach for them no matter what anyone's telling you, or, you know, they're telling you it won't work, or this or that, and you're feeling driven. You have to make the decision to do for you. So if that resonates, that's there for you. In terms of sexuality, that drive is what pushes you from the home and from isolation to make connections, to make connections for a potential partnership, right? Not everyone ends up with a partner, but if that is a drive in your life, then manifest it, right? And we'll talk more as we get into the other cards about how, right? Like they kind of are the steps to manifest this ultimate desire. And if it's not a romantic relationship, there's that similar understanding of that energy that pushes us to commune with others and to find connection, because whether it's romantic or not, human connection is very important. We're pack animals. We really like to be together and spend time with people. You know, solitude's good too, but balance. 6, balance. Through love, you find unity with others, and it gives you this glimpse of that greater significance, like the meaning of life, essentially, like that connection, that overall explosion of just the essence of being, right? If you know, you know. And love is important because it allows us to release a part of our ego that keeps us from connecting, that keeps us kind of hidden, right, under wraps. Because sometimes it's scary to be vulnerable and be raw, but to form a very strong connection with someone, whether strong friend or romantic, You have to be vulnerable. You have to let down that guard, right? So it allows you to let go of the part that isolates you. There's an angel above the lovers, and that represents something that may seem unattainable, but becomes obtainable when you work together, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. So this angel is talking about working together. It's talking about not necessarily finding your other half because you're already whole, right? But not being afraid to allow others in to help, because sometimes you just need a little help to get to where you're going. The man figure represents the duality of nature, and then the female is that the nurturing, what society ascribes with femininity, right? It doesn't matter who you are, how you identify, you have these facets within you. How they're expressed is up to how you decide to express yourself, but you have this embodiment, right? Plato has a myth of humanity, and it talks about how humans were dual creatures, and they were split by Zeus into two parts, destined to spend their lives finding their other half. But in his myth of humanity, it plays equal weight on a male-male, a female-female, or a male-female relationship. It's not the players so much as the unity that's formed in that that bond, right? So if you're looking at a romantic sense, this is not just a man and a woman together. Those are representations of a deeper understanding of energy, duality, nature, nurture, society. It's much deeper than just the blanket terms, because it can be hard to find something that the human mind can understand unless you use something that you kind of have an idea about. And in this case, it's a societal ingrained norm that helps us describe and understand these energies that flow with us. So it's words. There's only so many words we can use. So understanding that is very important. The three beings can also be the triune mind, right? The conscious, the superconscious, and the unconscious. And together they have to exist together. You can't have one without the other, right? It's kind of like there's a whole bunch of beings inside your head all talking to each other. It's like sometimes it gets wild in there. So the two figures also represent duality, and then the angel, like we said, was the uniting force, and in this case it's often romantic love, but not necessarily. So when you surrender yourself to that, you experience something that's greater than yourself, right? And that's that love, that connection, that unity. Even if it's just for a moment, it gives you a glimpse into this essence, this existence that's so much more than just you, or just you and your partner, or just a couple people, or a moment in time, right? Excuse me. So it's also about freedom and liberation, and that requires, excuse me, more than passion. But it requires love that will help you see the path, because love isn't just the passion, it's not just the feeling. Love is this choice, and it's a commitment, right? Whether it's a romantic love or just loving someone, giving someone that space, holding space for them to work through or become who they are, right? Figure that out. In a reading, the Lover's card, we're going to talk about the divinatory meanings of it. It's very deep. It's all so deep. I love it. This is the importance of love in your life, and it could be to a specific lover, if that is the case, or that's an energy that resonates. It could be a marriage or just a long-term commitment. It doesn't have to be marriage, right? Marriage is one of those social constructs that we have when you're already unified to someone. You know, you can be unified to someone and not get married. So this relationship has been or will be valuable in bringing a new understanding of life, right? If there's a problem being considered, it can symbolize help, either emotional support or practical help to work through the problem, right? It could be someone coming in, a partner in that sense, to help you work through that. And it's, again, the whole one individual can't solve it alone, but together you find a solution. There's that. as well. And it can also be a refusal to look at the present, like, right? So you're hung up on a past love or the way something was, and you're longing for it to be that way again. So that can be a way to look at it, like a nostalgia for the past that doesn't exist, and you're not focusing on what's presently needing to be worked on. Maybe it's in your current relationship. There's something that's kind of there in the middle, maybe, that's not being discussed but needs to be addressed. Address it. You don't want to wait, because that will just ruin it. It's better to talk about the uncomfortable things and bring them out in the ocean. Bring them out of the ocean. Communication is important. In a reversed mode, this is a more advanced card, so it talks more about weaknesses and blocks. In cards 1 through 5, a reversal means adding those missing elements. But in this case, it talks about a toxic relationship in one form or another. It could be destructive love, it could be romantic or sexual problems that are dominating your life. It could just be a personal problem, or it could be with a specific individual. And then it can be romantic immaturity. So adolescence that's prolonged, and it keeps you kind of in this childhood fantasy spot, and not becoming that matured version of yourself, that matured being to look for mature connection, right? So if this comes up upside down, it's a place to work on. It's something is blocking your decision making, your ability to love or be loved, your ability to feel or to allow yourself pleasure, right? So working through that is very important. That's the Lovers, and this is the major card for the year. And so we're now going to kind of walk through what that means when the other cards come into play, the other sixes. Here we go. So the Six of Wands. This is a good card. This is a turning point in the suit of wands. It's the victory title, right? This is a card of celebration. Check it out. They're having a great time riding through. It's reminding you that optimism will produce exactly what it desires and expects. You create your reality, right? So if you put forward an attitude of gratitude, you put forward this optimistic attitude, you will bring more of that into your life. You will see the fruits of your labor start to make sense. That optimism will show you more success. You'll see more of the places where you have success, even if it's not exactly what you want it to be right now. It will show you, hey, look at these steps you've taken. Look how far you've come compared to last year, 6 months ago, a month ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Like, if you have to look back just to see where you are now, that's fine. Do it. It usually requires a true belief in yourself to find energy to accomplish your goals, right? You have to believe in yourself to be able to do it. If you're doubting yourself, you have self-limiting beliefs, you don't think you can do it, you think you're a failure, whatever it is, it's going to keep you from creating from this space of desire and abundance and gratitude, right? You're going to just be like, I can't do it. And usually you're not going to want to push forward if you don't feel like you could do it. Reversal it's a false optimism, and it can lead to fear and feeling weak. It's defeat, being overwhelmed, betrayed. It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Suspicion can create betrayal in your life. If you're suspicious that something's going on and it's not, you can start to create the very thing that you're trying to avoid, because you're putting energy there and you're like, I don't want it to be this way. And you fear it so much that you bring it into your reality. I'm sure that's happened to you. So remember to rejoice, see the victories in life, right? Lovers and victory. It's so great. It's about overcoming things and connecting to this deep emotional part of ourselves. So if you've been avoiding your emotions coming into this year from last year, which was supposed to be a very emotionally transformative year, then it's time to look at them. Don't ignore them. If you don't take a message from the universe, it will make you take that time, look at that thing, do that thing, feel that thing. So just do it. Just let it happen. In and through, my friends. Six of Swords. So this one is a little bit different than the Rider-Waite one. And I'm only bringing that up because some of the meaning of the card makes a little more sense with the understanding that in the traditional Rider-Waite version of the card, the swords are in the boat, right? They're sticking out of it. And the whole thing is that the swords don't weigh down the boat, right? The swords, your thoughts, the things you've been through, your troubles, you carry them with you, but you've adapted in such a way that they don't sink the boat or weigh you down, right? They're plugging the holes. What you've been through shapes you. It doesn't mean that it was the best experience. It doesn't mean that you have to accept it as good. You just have to accept it as fact and know that to truly love yourself and find that peace and contentment, you have to love everything that shaped you. You have to love everything that's brought you to this point. It doesn't mean that it had, like, the pieces of you that brought you to this point, the things about yourself that you don't necessarily like. You have to love them and nurture them. And if there's a piece of yourself that you're trying to transform, love it where it's at and then grow with that piece of yourself, right? We're raising our inner child, so we just have to remember that sometimes that part of us that's critical and like can think critically or process isn't always online. It's kind of dissociated a little bit, and it happens, and it's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up. It's not a switch, right? It's a dance to get through healing. Life is healing. It's not like I don't personally believe you get to a point where you're like, I'm healed, right? Everything that happens until the day you pass from this plane is an opportunity to continue that healing and that growth and that transformation and mindset shift. So remember that functioning in a difficult situation without attacking the problems is another major, meaning of this card, is being able to not let past influences affect how you process current situations, right? It's a passage, either physically or spiritual, with ease. It's an easy transition. It's being able to pass through. So it goes back to, if you're struggling a little bit, or the 2021 vibes, or you're just swirling with them still, the 2020 vibes, just all the way through, it's okay. Know that you're in a time of transition, and those things are still being integrated, and they're still there to help you find this balance, right? You have to be compassionate with yourself to find the balance and integrate and release, and it all just comes back to being easy on yourself. It's really easy for us to love others and to see, be like, you know what would really help you? Take a breath, calm down, chill. Look at yourself and say the same thing. I'm guilty. I like to just like run into the friggin' sunset, just keep going, and I'm like, calm down, take time for yourself, chill out, you're doing great. And I'm like, burned out. So don't forget to take your own advice sometimes. Traditionally, the ferryman in this card has a black pole, which is potentiality. It's like the 0 in 2022. It's potential. It's nothing final's happening. Everything's possible. And by remaining calm, you neither are wasting energy or opportunity. You take time to make decisions. You take time to see the opportunities before you and make a very logical, intuitive decision, right? It's that balance. In a reversal, it's a disruption of balance and peace. So emotional waters get stirred up, and it can be a physical or spiritual journey through a perceived storm. You could be facing a long-standing problem, so something that's been bothering you for a while. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be addressed, because it can agitate the situation to face it, right? And to remove the swords can sink the boat because they're plugging up the holes, but sometimes the boat needs to sink, right? Depending on what boat you're in. If it's a boat that no longer serves you, then it's time to get out of it. Stop trying to bail out a boat that isn't helping you, right? That's a good metaphor, I hope. Communication can be painful, but it can also be healing, right? And going back to the lovers, communication is very important in relationships. It's very important with yourself, right? Communicate with yourself. I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? Have I done this to help myself? Have I done this? You know, sometimes it's as easy as drinking some water or like eating a snack can change your mindset. breathe, you know, do some stretches. I really like to wake up in the morning before I connect with the world in any sense. I really like to do a little stretching and yoga and just kind of connect with myself, work out any kinks, move some muscles. It really helps. It's really good. Like grounding is so good. We get to mention as we go through wands. Wands are fire, passion, drive. So we talked about the wands. The swords we just talked about, those are thoughts. It's air, so it's thoughts, but it can also be words. Words can cut. There's that mindset as well. And then we're gonna talk about cups. Cups are emotions, water, right? This is memories of the past, so it can either be a true representation of the past, or it can be something seen through a haze of like, excuse me, longing for the time before, right? This nostalgia of a time that may not have even been the way you're perceiving it, but I'm an adult now and I really want to be a kid. Someone took care of me, had all these things. It was beautiful, safe time. It can spark positive emotions and a feeling of security, but it can also prevent you from facing problems. Fixating on the past keeps you in the past instead of dealing with what's right here so that you can move gracefully into the future. Sixes are giving and receiving, and so this can also, it's two kids. It can be seen as siblings, but it can also be seen as like a mentor and a mentee. There's that concept as well. And if you didn't have a childhood that was stable or good, you know, an upright six could signify a desire for that or a longing to know what that's like. And that's where it comes in, like where you sit with your inner child, because now you're the adult that your child you needed. And you can't go back in time, but you can start from now to mend and heal, and forgive for yourself, not necessarily for anyone else, but so that you can release, right? A reversal is a move towards action. In this case, it's looking towards the future instead of the past. It's an attitude instead of an action. So it's fixating, possibly like you're looking too much into the future. You're not thinking about how the past is affecting the now, affecting the future. So making sure that you take time to look at what's now and just like look at what you've gleaned from the past. Look at everything you've gotten. It can represent disturbing memories as well and feelings of alienation, as well as isolation. And that goes back to maybe you didn't have such a fulfilling childhood. Maybe it wasn't everything it should have been. You didn't have your needs met. You didn't have that nurturing love that children need and deserve. And that's where now, like, you may be an adult, but there's always going to be people around you who will love your inner child with you. And it starts with you seeing your inner child, seeing what your inner child needs, and then moving through that with your inner child, right? So being the big sibling for your little baby inner child. Now, Six of Pentacles is the last six in our deck, and it is one of the most complex cards, arguably, in the whole deck. Because on a basic level, it's generosity, it's charity, it's sharing. There's someone giving to the people below. She's got a balanced scale, so it talks about like balanced giving, balanced receiving, a balance of tangible aspects. But if you look at the image, you can see there's kind of a hierarchy. One person is above the other. The upper individual is giving, but it seems to be coming from a place of superiority rather than an equal exchange, as is represented by the balance scales. So it could work like that, but only in a relationship where one person is willingly submitting to another and the other one wants that domination or that rule, I guess, that position of power. So it's not necessarily a bad way to be in relation, but it's important to understand how it works. And if it's not something that's wanted, then something needs to be shifted. So it doesn't always represent a person. It can represent a situation in which an entity, not necessarily a person, dominates a group of people or a person or people. So someone is being possibly suppressed or oppressed by another individual. It's wild to have such complex meanings in both the reversal and the upright position. But it really is this place of balance. It's like the paradox of everything. And that's because it talks about materials. It's Pentacles, and that's the 3D. That's the world we live in. That's tangible aspects, which also has to do with, it's hard. I lost it. Has to do with tangible things. So the paradox of existence comes into play a lot more, because it's not so much this esoteric idea, it's just the isness, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense, but let's see what's up. So it's this weird relationship to the major arcana cards, in which there's a force holding together opposites, right? Nothing's truly reconciled, but there's a situation that maintains balance. So where you see conflict happen, this can be like a representation of that. There is emphasis on that beggar, right? The beggars here, they are being given, and in this case there's a couple beggars. You just see their hands. So what about the giver? They show generosity, but in a way that's measured rather than spontaneous. They're giving emotionally. This is a symbol of how, like, you're giving to others for them more than you're taking for yourself, in an essence, or in a measured way. Like, emotionally, it could be someone who's really invested, or maybe you're really invested in other people, but you won't let anyone invest in you. You won't let anyone in and be transparent and talk about your emotions and what's causing you to feel one way or another. You're not letting people be there for you and just being open. And that can come from fear. It can come from past trauma. It can come from a weird ideal of how things are supposed to go. It can come from being stuck in gender norms. Whatever it is, there is that as well. So the relationship is both-sided, but many people will only accept a limited gift because a display of strong emotions can be terrifying. So we often give rather than giving what we know someone needs or may desire, we give from an understanding of what they're able to accept, right? Like, if you see someone and you know what they need, there could be a feeling in your heart that, well, if I give it to them, they're going to feel some type of way. They're going to think that I think down on them, or they're going to think that I think they're struggling, or whatever it may be. And so instead we hold back a little bit, just so it's less intense of a love. You know, it goes back to the lovers. And so to give consciously what people need takes a great degree of self-knowledge and awareness, because we tend to give as a projection of what we need or what we think others need, rather than what is genuinely needed, right? That makes sense? Doesn't make sense? Leave it in the comments and I will make the best sense of it that I can. So you can also look at it as learning the value of studying a discipline, not just from the knowledge gained, but from the experience, right? And so the work itself will change you, because there's a certain frame of mind you have to be in to act on the feeling, right? To follow through with an act. So it's that symbolism. The giver can symbolize the force of life. It gives us what we need and can receive, but we can also be overpowered with spiritual wonder. So again, it's that balance of knowing we deserve so much and everyone else deserves so much. And why should we limit ourselves on spreading the love because we're afraid that someone won't be able to receive what we have to give, right? It can be emotional, tangible, however you're looking at it. it's necessary to put yourself in a position to receive, right? If you're someone who wants to give, and when people are giving you things, you're like, no, it's fine, it's fine. You're blocking off that flow of energy. You can't keep giving and not receive. You can't expect others to receive if you're not willing to receive. You know what I mean? How's that work? And a lot of us are caught in that. We want to give, but we never want to take. So who's getting all the giving? Someone has to accept it with grace. Let that energy flow through you, and then on to someone else. In a reversal place, it can be a lack of generosity or selfishness when sharing is expected. So you're being challenged to give more freely, and it doesn't have to be money. It can be time, resources, love, like spending more time with people, becoming more social is good. Having pity or resentment towards a party or a being who is receiving generosity is also what this can symbolize. If you're feeling resentment towards someone who's getting help, take the steps you need to get the help you need. Or don't feel pity for someone if they're reaching out and getting help. They're taking steps to better their situation, right? So you have to look at it that way. Don't feel bad for yourself based on what someone else is getting, and don't feel bad for them based on them receiving something in that sense. It could be a stable situation, but there's unequal and unsatisfying dynamic. So something that is working but isn't healthy, again, it goes back to like the Six of Swords. Like sometimes you gotta rock the boat. So just because you can make it work doesn't mean it needs to work that way. Don't be afraid to shift things to find a more equal balance, right? And again, it's not putting yourself in a position to receive. You either cut off spiritually or you miss opportunities, and it could be through suspicion of others' motives, right? They're giving me something, they're giving me an opportunity, they're offering me this, whether it be tangible, financial, emotional, an idea, whatever it is. Don't always think, they're gonna want something in return. Maybe, but being able to read situations and just follow through and set boundaries and have things set up in a way that if it is like that, you'll know. But if it's not like that, you'll lose yourself an opportunity to advance yourself on this road to success just by being suspicious of love. So this is a year of balance. This is a year of love. This is a year of celebration. It's a year of moving through things and allowing what has happened to us to be part of our toolbox, right? Instead of just seeing it as this thing that happened to me, this trauma, this whatever, as a negative thing. How can I take that and transform that into a tool to take with me into the future? Dive back into your childhood if you need to. Embody that wonder. If you didn't have a wonderful childhood, listen to your inner child now and help them have a good childhood in your adulthood, right? Don't be afraid to play, to dance, to get dirty, to be a kid, and make sure that you're giving from a place of genuinity. Genuine love. Give freely. It doesn't mean put yourself in a tight spot by giving, but it also does mean be willing to accept, because that will make the balance there stronger. So it's a year of sixes, my friends. We're here to play. We're gonna have a great time. It's here to serve us. We're coming through, in and through. So take all those lessons you learned last year, apply them to this year, learn more lessons, keep on building and moving and grooving. Have a great new year. I will see you guys in the next now moment. Keep your eyes open for zodiac transits, for new moons and full moons, all the fun stuff. Here we are. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. And thanks for growing and healing and moving. We're doing great things together. Stay connected. I love you guys.